Ben McKee, West Rucker, Go Balls 24/7 here with our Around the Horn inside of Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Tennessee opens the NCAA Tournament with a 9-3 win over Northern Kentucky. The offense did what it needed to do. The top 6 hitters in the lineup, each of them reached base at least twice, 9 runs on 9 hits. Billy Amick, Dylan Dreiling, and Hunter Inslee all with big home runs. But for me, the story is A.J. Causey. A.J. Causey was phenomenal, as he has been for most of the season, but just even more impressive tonight is, for me, Wes, how he was thrown in the fire there in the first inning, because it did not begin well for Tennessee, and Chris Stamos there on the bump.
Yeah, that's a different thing that I think we've talked about a little bit, but I don't know if we've talked about it enough to really appreciate. When you're in his role, like, you might be going in the third, fourth, fifth inning, maybe at the latest, or you might be going in the first inning. I mean, you got to be just dialed in immediately and get hot and get ready in the second to go if need be. And they needed to do it, they felt like. I thought at the time it was a really interesting move. There was a runner on third base, 1 out, 2-2 count, and you could tell what Vitello was thinking. Bring in a new arm, get a strikeout here on a weird sweeper that this guy hadn't seen before, and then you don't get that RBI ground out or sac fly to make it 2-0, which really maybe changes the game as opposed to 1-0. It's a big spot. And then from there, what I thought was really interesting, Ben, was that sort of galvanized everybody. Like, you don't want to go behind 1-0. A guy runs into one to lead off the game. You're down 1-0. But, bringing Causey out of the pen, holding the runner there at third, keeping it to 1-0. That it was not first inning noise from the crowd. Like, they were like late innings into it from the jump because of that. And I think maybe in a weird way that helped Tennessee, because that got them dialed in quick.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Causey was phenomenal there in the first inning. Working Tennessee out of that jam and preventing a crooked number, because it did feel like a crooked number was going to happen. And I also feel like maybe Tony saw some swings from Northern Kentucky that he did not like. And he's made that change mid-at-bat before, when he's maybe seen Northern, or just an opponent in general, when he has made the move before, foul off some pitches and be very close to hitting the ball hard again. And Northern Kentucky had already hit the ball hard several times within the inning. So maybe didn't like some things he was seeing from Stamos as well. The good news is Stamos is available at another point this weekend, especially if you have to end up playing another baseball game. But Causey he was terrific in that first inning, and he was terrific throughout. I thought it was funny, Dizzy Payton, the Northern Kentucky coach, said that it looked like a wiffle ball up there, which is the perfect way to describe it. A frisbee, a wiffle ball, however you want to describe it. But 6.2 innings, 111 pitches. It's the third time he's thrown over 100 pitches in an outing, and it's win number 12 for him individually, and he's the first Tennessee pitcher with 12 wins since a guy named Luke Hochevar won 15, and I believe it was 2005.
Yeah, I mean, it's the combination of that sweeper that he's got that's like 73 or 70. It's just a devil's pitch. Like, it's insane. And then the secret, though, he keeps you just honest enough with that fastball that it's like, 92, 93 if he really wants to shove it. He can get up there if he needs to. And because of that off speed being what it is, and that changeup being so gross too, he keeps you honest with the fastball. He keeps you honest just enough with the fastball to where you can't just sit on that off speed stuff. And he was fantastic tonight. I mean, I felt like he could have kept going if it wasn't a number that is obviously a red line number even this time of year, but he was fantastic.
Yeah, and so was the offense. Even in the early innings when they weren't having results per se, I was seeing good things from the lineup. I mean, in that first inning, they leave a pair on base, but 5 of the 6 guys that hit in that first inning hit the ball hard. Yeah. And 2 of the guys hit it right at somebody for outs. And it was just a matter of time before they were going to push through and put some runs on the board, and that eventually happened. They're loading the bases, walking a guy in, Dean Curley with a sac fly. You took advantage of a Northern Kentucky error out in left field, and then Billy Amick comes up with the big 3-run homer. Blake Burke walks after Christian Moore doubles with 1 out, and that sets up Billy for a 391-foot homer over the 390-foot wall. And I asked Billy about it post-game, and he said, all I know is that he got over.
I was asking that. I had my hand up to ask that, but you asked it, so I was going to ask him too. Like, did you think you got enough of that?
Yes, and he said, all I know is it went out. Touche, Mr. Amick, touche. And then later in the game, Northern Kentucky continued to threaten at times, and Kirby comes in and slams the door, but also you had big insurance home runs from Dylan Dreiling, a 2-run shot, and that followed a solo shot from Hunter Inslee. Both of those outfielders really got a hold of the home runs that they hit.
Yeah, I mean, the Dreiling one was like a 2-iron. It was low, but it was 104, 106, whatever it was off the bat. I
think it was 104.
He got it, and Amick got his at 106 too. He just got it way up in there. So he got a pitching wedge or sand wedge that goes just enough, and then a 2-iron that has just enough on it too. They were
Inslee's
good.
got out quick too. I think his was 101 off the bat.
And it was a no, like for opposite field, it was a no doubter. I think 375 or whatever it was. It was gone out at any park. 375 at that part of the yard. So good night for them. I think that's the thing. This Northern Kentucky team, that's a top 5 offense in terms of runs per game nationally. Like, those guys can swing the bat. They just can't pitch. And really, they've only got like 3 or 4 guys on the pitching staff whose numbers don't look terrible. And Tennessee saw almost all of them tonight, which I love, by the way, from a 4 seed. You know, a lot of times as a 4 seed, you won't throw your best guy early on, or you'll just kind of, okay, we're going to lose this one, so let's just go ahead and go to the, try to get it hot on Saturday. No, they were like, screw it, let's go for it. They Leroy Jenkins did and threw their guys, and they weren't bad. It's just they hit a lot better than they pitched, and Tennessee was able to, kind of stay in those at bats, and even the pitchers that were getting some success, they were making them work for it. I mean, Blake Burke had 3 or 4 excellent at bats in this game. They just made him throw a lot of pitches, and eventually these guys are going to crack you.
Yep, and now you get to deal with Indiana, who, to the surprise of many, beat Southern Miss, and I think surprise, I say that in the sense of people saw Southern Miss and the familiarity from last season, just assumed Southern Miss would beat a bubble team, but Tony Vitello points out post-game that part of the reason Indiana was a bubble team was because they dealt with injuries throughout the course of the season. So they're a team that's looking for pitching, I do believe, but it's another lineup that, it's going to be tough to deal with tomorrow, and Drew Beam's going to have his hands full, much like Causey and Stamos had their hands full tonight.
Yeah, no, people, apparently Vitello said people have been giving him grief, calling him Lou Holtz lately for him praising the other team, but he said that Indiana, he thinks, got a few future major leaguers. I would say maybe 2, but 2 guys that you feel pretty good about can reach that level. Bottom line, that's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys, and they can hit, and they've been well coached. They're always a program. They're always well coached. Big Ten baseball is not easy. It's so cold for a lot of the year, but these guys have gotten to Omaha before. Kyle Schwarber, other guys have played in that program. This is a good, solid baseball program that's coming to play Tennessee tomorrow, and it's going to be a fun game. We'll see. What kind of Drew Beam shows up. If it's the right one, then Tennessee should be fine. But it's I know it's funny because it's so cool out here right now, and it doesn't feel like it's this time of year. But it's this time of year, man. Anything can happen. Look at those scores today. Look at the Greenville Regional, where 2 games, 2 upsets on the very first day. Wake and ECU both going down. North Carolina with the Grand Slam walk-off. LSU. I mean, everybody. It was a weird day, but that's what makes this tournament so great. And it's great if you're winning, which Tennessee did.
Yep, and tomorrow's pretty significant. Not that tonight was not significant, but Tennessee is the number 1 seed for a reason. Expected them to handle business, so all eyes were pointing tomorrow, and the difference is pretty staggering. I mean, if you win, you're playing on Sunday. You just need 1 more win to get to a super regional. If you lose, you have to beat the winner of Northern Kentucky, Southern Miss, first thing on Sunday. Then you have to turn around and beat. If Tennessee were to lose tomorrow, they would have to beat Indiana twice after beating whoever comes out of the other losers bracket game. So 1 win or 3 wins, it's quite the difference. And we'll have plenty of coverage of it all up at GoVols247.com. Tennessee, Indiana tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern. As of the time we press record, TV had not been decided, but there will be plenty of places to find Tennessee baseball, I can assure you that, especially on GoVols247.com.
There you go.
He's Wes Rucker, I'm Ben McKee.